All right, ladies and gents, this is Mr. Vanderpool. So today we're going to go ahead and answer the reading questions for section 1.4, exchange. And we're going to be talking about exchange, the forms of exchange, and a couple other topics. So section 1.4 goes from page 15 through page 18. We're going to read that together, and we're going to answer these four questions. All right, so remember to go ahead and title your paper, reading questions for section 1.4 exchange. And remember also that we need to go ahead and write out the number, the question, as well as the answer. So let's go on to number one. It says describe the three forms of exchange. Well, if you look on page 15 in red, there you can see it says forms of exchange, and there are three of them. The first one is barter. Okay, the first form of exchange that was invented by mankind is barter. And barter, of course, is just trading one thing for another, trading for an apple for an orange, for example. And the problem with barter is somebody needs to want the thing you are trading. If you have an apple and the other person has an orange and you want to trade, you're going to need to want an orange, and he's going to need to want an apple. And that doesn't always happen, and it makes trade and exchange much more difficult. So as mankind progressed, it went ahead and developed the next form of exchange, which is called money. And money, as you can see on page 15, is any item that is readily accepted by people in return for goods and services. And we're going to talk about the functions of money in just a little bit. Okay, but money is that second form of exchange. And if you turn the page and go to page 16, you will see the third form of exchange, which is credit. Okay, that allows consumers to use items for completing payment for the merchandise. Basically, it means that you can buy it today and you can pay for it later. That is what credit is. All right, so staying on page 16 here, let's go on to number 2. It says describe the three functions of money. You can see at the top of the page it says money has three functions, and you can see the three functions there. The first one, it's a standardized item that is generally traded for goods and services. So we trade money for goods and services. That function is given a name. It's called the medium of exchange function of money. The second function of money, money is a measure of value that allows both producers and consumers to determine and express worth. This is known as the unit of account function of money. Basically, that means if something is worth $10, it's more valuable to society generally than something that is worth $1. So we can compare values with money. And then the third function of money is money is a store of value that can be saved and used to purchase items at a later date. This is called the store of value function of money. So basically, if we hold on to money, that money should be able to maintain its value. So once again, money has three functions. It is a medium of exchange, it is a unit of account, and it is a store of value. Alright, so for number 3, it says the combination of what two things forms the basis of determining value. If you look on page 17, there are two things that determine value. The first thing, ladies and gentlemen, is what's called utility. Utility is another name for usefulness. It's another name for happy points, is sometimes I hear economists call them happy points. It's something that is if something has utility to you, it is useful. It gives you pleasure. Okay, so you can think of some things in your own life that give you utility. So if something has value, it's got to have utility, and it also has to be scarce. If there's an unlimited amount of something, or a very, very, very high amount of something, generally it will not be super valuable. So it is this combination of utility and scarcity that determines value. All right, so moving on to number 4. It says, write down an example of modern-day economic interdependence. So before we get to that, we need to talk about what interdependence is in contrast with self-sufficiency. So if you look on page 17, you can see the definition of self-sufficiency. So let's look on the second paragraph down. It says, on page 17, it says, people or society demonstrate self-sufficiency when they can fulfill all of their needs without outside assistance. Okay, so when you can fulfill all your needs without any outside assistance, you are self-sufficient. So individuals can be self-sufficient, nations can be self-sufficient as well. However, like the book says in that paragraph, true self-sufficiency is rare because resources are limited. And in order to get other people's resources, oftentimes we have to interact with those, which makes us less self-sufficient. And what it does make us when we are interacting with others, or other nations are interacting with others, is it makes us interdependent. So, if you look on page 18, you can see where it says interdependence in dark type. And interdependence means that events or developments in one region of the world or sector of the economy influence events or developments in other regions or sectors. So basically what is happening one place affects someplace else. Or what somebody is doing is affecting someone else. Okay, those are examples of interdependence. So a real-life example of interdependence, and we'll look at this on the world stage. I want you to think about what happens to gas prices in America when there's war or chaos in the Middle East. Think about that for a second. So you're probably saying to yourself, well, whenever I read that there's trouble in the Middle East, gas prices start going up. Sometimes they go up by a drastic amount. That is a real-life, modern-day example of economic interdependence, because what is going on in the Middle East is affecting us here in the United States. All right, so we'll finish up number 4 here, and I will check these notes tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.